In this video, we are going to learn how to use the 2 into 2 matrix. So a 2 into 2 matrix is basically a two-dimensional table which is used to make choices among different options by putting two different criterias on two different axes. So for example, if you look at the image above, here we are trying to choose which skill to learn, right? By putting the time required to learn that skill on the x-axis and the usefulness of the skill on the y-axis. So if you look in the table above, we should try to learn a skill which takes less time to acquire but could be very useful, right? So if you look at the top right hand quadrant, it says we should learn that skill. If a skill takes a long time to acquire but very useful, then in that case we should keep that skill in our mind and plan to probably learn it in later on. And let's say if a skill takes does not take a lot of time to acquire but is also not very useful, so in that case we should kind of do more research to understand whether that skill could be useful or not. Similarly, if a skill is not useful and also takes a lot of time to acquire, then we should ignore that skill. So here, using this matrix, we can decide what kind of skill to learn, right? When we have different choices. So should we learn web development, or should we learn design, right? So now let's look at a few more examples of this matrix. So for example, here's one. So here, this is the Eisenhower matrix on the top, and this is a very good productivity tool to decide on which tasks you should focus on a daily basis, right? So for example, if a task is of high importance and highly urgent, then that should be your top priority. If a task is uh, very important but is not very urgent, so that could be something you put on a to-do list which you could work on later. Similarly, if a task is really urgent but your importance is low, then in that case you should try to give that problem to someone else if you cannot solve it by yourself. And again, we should try to ignore tasks which are not urgent and which are not important, right? Now let's look at one more example, and we'll look at a business example. So we'll look at something called the Ansoff matrix. So basically, the Ansoff matrix helps us decide whether we want to focus on a product, or a new product, or a new market. So for example, if you look at the image above, if you think that you want to build a new product for a new market, then you're trying to diversify. If you're thinking of building a new product but for an existing market, then you're trying to improve on the product. So you're basically trying to do product development. Similarly, if you're trying to build a new market for your existing product, then you're trying to develop the market, you're trying to expand the market. And lastly, if you are trying to work on your current product and looking at your current market, then basically you're trying to acquire more customers in the same market, which is basically market penetration. So these were three examples of the 2 into 2 matrix, but you can use it for various other cases as well.